What if we could just lean into this idea for a moment? What if you could really just acknowledge for 1 second that your point of view may create your reality? Your reality does not create your point of view. Just sit with that for a moment. One of the things I love most about this work in particular is the real awareness that you no longer have to uphold anything that doesn't work for your life. So if you discover that you don't like your job, or you're not happy with, the way something turned out, or you're not happy with the way that you're being in certain situations, you have power and control to be different as long as you aren't in resistance of change. Breathe that in for a moment. Releasing the main core frequency of resistance of change is really the acknowledgement of all of this form and structure, and all of this. When I say form and structure, I like to kind of call form and structure like all of the points, like if I look at points of views. Okay, so for me, everything looks like form and structure in your universe. Okay, so when you have lots of points of views, which most of us function in a ton of points of views because that's what this reality has taught us to do. This reality has taught us this is right and this is wrong and this is good and this is bad. And people uphold those points of views, like literally they will fight you for those points of views. Okay, and the thing is in all reality, nothing is right or wrong or good or bad. It's all just choice. And I know that that's kind of the same idea as your point of view creates your reality. Your reality does not create your point of view, right? Because people will tell me, oh no, if there was no rules in this world, if there was no rights and wrongs or goods or bads, people would just go crazy. No, they wouldn't. Because in order to get to the space of understanding and clearly feeling and being the space of you, when you get to a space where you're no longer functioning in rights and wrongs and goods and bads, that doesn't mean that you can run around and murder people and rob banks with no consequences in any way, shape, or form. When you function in a reality where you understand that your points of view create your reality does not create your point of view, and when you're functioning in a space where you understand that when you don't live in right and wrong and good and bad, there still is action. There still is an action for every action that you do in your life. There's a reaction for every action. So when I choose something, because I don't function really in and really any major polarity anymore. My kids don't have rules. And when I say that out loud to people, when I tell people I have teenagers that don't have any rules, sometimes it makes people's heads spin. But you know what? They haven't had rules since they were little. And you know what? I have three wonderful, amazing, conscious individuals. Women, little women, really. My youngest daughter is now 16 years old, going to be 17. So they're all women at this point, and they deeply understand how their actions create reactions in this world. And they have such a space of choice and possibility. And they understand that every single choice that they choose is going to create an energy in their life. So they're very intentional with what they choose and how they spend their time and their energy and their awareness on things. They don't wrap themselves up into overwhelm because they understand how when you get to this space where you understand that everything is choice and possibility and it's not about right or wrong or good or bad, that does not release you from like obligation to be a quote unquote good person. It just allows you to understand that every single choice creates an energy in your life. It creates a point of view. Even the choice to be, let's say, religious. Once I decide to be religious, and if you grew up in a religious environment, you didn't get a choice to decide to be religious. You just grew up in that environment, and so you were automatically implied that belief system. So if I decide at this point in my life to be Catholic, I automatically assume the Catholic belief system. And then I have to keep being in judgment of myself to see if I am in alignment within that belief system. But if I don't function in belief systems, if I don't function in rights and wrongs and goods and bads, and I understand that everything is just choice and possibility, and if I make a certain choice, that choice is definitely going to create an energy in my life. And once I understand the energy that it's created in my life, I can see if I want to continue to create that choice or if I want to make a different choice. And everything becomes a dance of choice and possibility instead of this re-looping back into points of views that limit and lock up what you can choose in this life, because when you function in that belief system or that point of view or that awareness of something, and you don't feel like you have a choice, you're just looped in the system. And this is where most of us function, and this reality is looping in the system of, these are the points of views that I have decided are real and true for me, and I have no other choice. So I have to keep perpetrating the same cycles over and over and over and over and over. And this looks like, oftentimes when people come to me and they find my stuff, they're overwhelmed. They're being, and I know that sometimes I talk in words, and if you're new to my show, it's kind of, I think sometimes I do speak a different type of language, if you will, because the thing about understanding consciousness is understanding that words also have power. Okay. And when someone comes to me for the first time and I start talking to them and they're completely overwhelmed, they're finding themselves being like all kinds of different people. Like maybe in some situations, they're pegged with anger and they can't change it. In other situations, they feel super duper guilty. And every time they're around those people, they feel super duper guilty. I just had a conversation with somebody this morning who was telling me about how someone um, said, I like how mean you are. And so every time she's around that person, she has to like uphold being this mean person. And like, she doesn't want to be this mean person. We don't want to feel this yucky guilt stuff. We don't want to be these people. But the thing is because of our points of views and our belief systems and the way that we have our universe set up, we find ourselves looping and being people we don't want to be. We find ourselves looping and choosing things we don't want to choose because we feel like we only have this choice available to us or this choice available to us. We don't see that there's literally a million possibilities available to us because we can't even receive anything outside of our points of views.